Are you ready to unlock your full potential and maximize your productivity? Look no further than Productivity Smarts, the ultimate audio podcast hosted by renowned productivity expert Gerald J. Leonard. In every episode, Gerald shares captivating stories, invaluable tips, and cutting-edge strategies that will transform the way you approach productivity. Whether you're looking to reduce stress, overcome overwhelm, or simply get more done in less time, Productivity Smarts has got you covered. But that's not all. You'll also gain inspiration from real-life success stories of individuals who have achieved greatness through productivity. Plus, you'll learn the latest tools, techniques, and habits that will help you achieve a new level of happiness and fulfillment in your personal and professional life. So why wait? Join us every week as we delve into the exciting world of productivity and help you unleash your full potential. Get ready to take your productivity to the next level with Productivity Smarts. As a productivity expert and host of the Productivity Smarts podcast, Gerald J. Leonard has been a proud supporter of Kiva since 2011. Kiva is a non-profit organization that helps entrepreneurs in third world countries access the capital they need to start or grow their businesses. By making a small loan through Kiva, you can help these entrepreneurs achieve their dreams, support their families, and contribute to their local economies. And with a repayment rate of over 96%, your loan can be relent to another entrepreneur once it's repaid, creating a ripple effect of positive change. So if you're looking for a meaningful way to make a difference in the world, consider making a loan through Kiva. With loans as small as $25, anyone can be a microlender and help change lives. Visit kiva.org to learn more and start lending today.
Well, today I'm speaking with Tina Tehranchian. She is an award-winning financial advisor since 1991. She is a senior wealth advisor for Assante Capital Management. Now, in addition to the numerous community and academic and professional awards over the past decade, in 2020, Tina was the first Canadian and first woman to receive the top Senior Wealth Advisor of the Year from the International Association of Top Professionals. And Tina, that's where we met. And she received the top Senior Wealth Advisor of the Decade and Empowered Woman of the Year award from the same organization in 2021. Now, in 2019, Tina was the first recipient of the Financial Advisor of the Year award for women in finance in Canada. Tina was also recognized by Wealth Professionals Canada as one of the top 50 leading women in wealth in 2023, and one of the best advisors in Ontario, a 5-star advisor in 2024. Tina, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Gerald.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, listen, before we jump into our conversation about financial freedom and because, this is one area that I really haven't talked a lot about on the podcast. And when you and I talked, I thought it would be really important to begin at least have some snippets of that conversation, because when your financial life is not together, it can create a lot of stress in people's lives, right? It creates a lot of stress. But when you have an inkling of how to start and how to budget and where to go and who to look to, it brings a lot of relief and fluidity in your life, and you're able to really focus. Now, before we get into this topic, I do have a couple of questions for you that I talked to you about earlier, which is, I'm a musician and I love music, and I always want to know from my guests, what is their favorite style or genre of music?
My favorite genre is jazz.
Excellent. You're a woman after my own heart. I love jazz, and that's what I play. I study classical, but I love playing jazz for so many different reasons. Now, can you share a piece of music that really helps you, I guess, kind of chill out, or just that brings a lot of comfort to you at times? Is there a piece that you can think of?
Absolutely. My favorite piece is Summertime. It really relaxes me and takes me to a happy place. So I love to listen to that song.
Okay, now I'm going to bring something up that we talked about, we laughed about, and that was that you let me know that when you're in college, you were like around this financial stuff, you were straight A's. But you took one class that you kind of struggled with a little bit, and that was what?
That was very true. So I was a straight A student all throughout college, no matter what course I took. But there was one course that I could not even complete. I just left it incomplete, and that was music appreciation. So unfortunately, I do not have any of your musical talents. And if I had taken the exam, I would have failed miserably. So I just left it incomplete.
Well, you've done so much. You've done so well in other parts. And you did mention that your son is a really good musician as well. So he got the genes from somewhere. They were passed along.
From my husband, not from me.
Gotcha. Well, listen, let's get into this. What has made you so successful throughout your career that obviously, organizations and the country of Canada is recognizing your expertise when it comes to financial management, and that's really position you and put you at a different place? What is it about you that's made you so successful throughout your career?
That's a very good question. I think one of the biggest values for me is hard work and pursuit of excellence. I really like to do whatever I'm doing very good at an excellent level, or just not do it, which is why I left that music course as incomplete because there was no way I could be good at it. And then it's caring. I think in the line of business that I am, knowledge is important, qualifications are important, but if you don't deeply care for your clients as human beings, you're never going to be successful. You're never going to get the satisfaction that you can from this business. You're never going to be able to give the value that your clients deserve. And for me, from day one, every client, I have treated them just like my closest family members. There would be no difference.
Right.
To me, their success is so important that it trumps everything else. And doing a good job, doing an excellent job, going over and above what's expected of me has always been a standard that I've adhered to, and I've asked my team to adhere to as well.
Excellent. So now, in your words, in all of your wisdom from the clients that you've worked with and the impact that you've had, why is it so important for everyone, really? Because we all have a financial plan. We may not have it documented, we may not have it reviewed or processed, but to really have a solid financial plan, why is that so important?
Again, an excellent question. So it's like anything else. If you want to go from point A to point B, if you have a map, an end goal in mind, and a GPS would be great too, you will get there much faster than if you just say, I want to get from point A to point B, but I have no idea. You may get there. You may eventually get to that point B, but it will take you way longer. You may get lost in the middle. You may go through a lot more hardship by the time you get there. So financial planning also is a journey that everybody needs to take during their lifetime. And like any journey, you need a roadmap. And that's the financial plan. That will give you a roadmap to follow, and it will allow you to achieve your goals faster and more confidently, and be able to track your progress along the way. That's very important too.
Right. Now, I know a lot of people who are listening, or maybe someone out there who's listening, they are listening to the Productivity Smarts podcast because they want to improve their productivity. They want to release stress. They want to get better. And maybe this financial planning area of their life they've struggled with. What are a couple things people could do to just get started, right? Just to kind of get the ball going and get things started to where they feel like, okay, that wasn't so scary. Because I think a lot of times when it comes to financial planning and things like that, that we can look at the big picture and become paralyzed. But if we start small, so what are some of those small steps?
Very true. So first of all, money is the biggest cause of stress for most people. FP Canada, that regulates financial planning in Canada, does a financial stress index every year, and it shows that the biggest stressor for most Canadians definitely is money. And I don't think it's only Canadians. I think it's very worldwide phenomena.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So removing that stress can definitely help with improving productivity. As you said, many people get overwhelmed when they think about their financial planning. And it's kind of like when you want to climb a mountain, right? You look at the mountain and it scares most people, it just overwhelms you. How in the world will I be able to climb this mountain? But you know what? You have to take the first step and the second step and do it in small steps. And before you know it, you will get to that mountaintop. And financial planning is the same thing. So the best thing that a good financial planner can do for their clients is break down the journey to little pieces.
Okay.
And work with their clients step by step to move them through the stages. For those of my clients who have a complicated situation, it takes us sometimes 1.5 to 2 years to complete a wealth plan because they have very complicated structures. These are people with various corporations and partnerships and all sorts of assets. And it is a very involved process. So if, again, those people were to look at the end result and see that, oh my God, at the end of this process, I'm going to have like a 200-page plan, they may not even start with it. Right. But we start small. And for anybody, the main goal should be to start working on your planning. Don't do it alone. Right. Seek help. That's another thing. Most people try to do it alone, and that overwhelms them even more because they don't have sometimes the knowledge or the skill set. So there are many qualified, certified financial planners out there. You can find people in your area that you can work well with. So take advantage of them and start the process. The earlier you start, the more you're going to be ahead.
Yeah, I think it's with any kind of task and any of the things that I've talked about around productivity before, which is sometimes you just have to start, right?
Yes.
And
absolutely.
You may not know what the end goal is going to look like. You may start and you may take that first step in fear of, someone finding out, how much debt you have or where things really are for you and that you're not where you're supposed to be or you want to be. And that's okay. It's just, you got to get started though, right? It's like, again,
absolutely.
Yoga, anything else, you have to get started. Now, do you have any examples, either from your own life or from your clients, with how financial planning has helped increase your own productivity and your own well-being, where you work with them and it was somewhat of a challenge, but then as they began to put these things into play, you could just see a change in that person because they begin to really feel like they had their life in control and they knew where things were going and what was in the bank and how they were planning on using things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any examples like that?
Definitely. A good example that comes to mind actually is one of my clients who's been a client for over 30 years.
Oh, wow.
When I met him, he was going through a nasty divorce. The divorce actually took 7 years to settle. It was one of the longest ones I've seen. He was up to his neck in debt, very high debt. He made a good income. He was an executive, made good money, but he was spending more than what he was making.
Right.
And when I started with him, he was renting a place. He didn't even own a house. But we started first of all tackling the debt, trying to reduce his debt load. Yep. Once that was tackled, we started building up assets for him. Finally, his divorce settled. I helped him and his new wife accumulate enough money to be able to buy a home and they bought at an excellent time, right at the cusp of the great real estate boom in Toronto.
Okay.
So they made very good money on the first home, moved on to a bigger home. His wife, unfortunately, passed away from cancer, and he got, some insurance money from that I managed for him. And it was so satisfying to see this client start from a negative base. He had absolutely no assets when I met him, and I was new in the business. So we traveled this journey together.
Wow.
Now he's retired, and I'm helping him with his retirement planning, with his estate planning. Actually, a few weeks ago, I went to his estate planning lawyer. We discussed, updating his will and how to transfer his wealth tax effectively to the next generation.
Right.
So now he has enough wealth that he's concerned about the taxes and mitigating those taxes, which is a good problem to have.
Right. That is amazing because, what that really gives a good example, especially having a 30-year track record with this client, is that you are a tour guide. Like when I look at advisors, right? I think about advice, not just financial advice, but any kind of advisor. I put them in two categories. Either one, you are a travel agent, or you're a guide. A travel agent would be someone who would say, hey, here's some paperwork, here's a financial planner, here's a strategy, go do it. But they are really not doing it themselves, and they really haven't helped a lot of people, and they don't have a clear track record. So all they can do is give you a piece of paper or, hey, here's a course I developed on financial planning, but you don't see the results in their own life or their client history. But when you have someone like yourself who has gone that road and have helped many clients through that, I call them a tour guide because they know exactly, it doesn't matter where you start in the negative or in the positive, they know how to take you from where you are to where you want to go. And they walk with you to help you get there. And then they show you all the little nuances along the way that you wouldn't notice if you weren't with a really good tour guide.
That is true. That's a very good analogy. I'm going to be using that.
I'm trying to remember where I got it from, but it's one that I love because I always look for tour guides. All right. I always look for tour guides when I'm looking for a mentor. It's like, hey, have you done this before? Show me let me find your track record. If I don't see a track record, I go next and keep moving on. Exactly.
Absolutely. And to answer the second part of your question about productivity, so going back to the same example, this client, he was so distracted with his debt and the divorce that was dragging on that it was impacting his career.
Yeah.
He was not able to perform at peak performance level. And once we resolved all those issues and he went on the right track of being able to eliminate his debt and build up assets, it really reflected so well on the professional side. He was able to he was at the top level of his field at the time that he retired. And I think a big part of that was the peace of mind that he had with his finances. He did not need to worry about that. He could concentrate on what he did best and really flourish in his career.
I think that's a really big point, is that when we do pull our finances together and we climb out of that debt and we have a solid plan, we know where we're going, we're not worried about things, then one, we sleep better.
Oh, absolutely.
we can focus better because we don't have that little nagging voice in the back of our head going, something's not right, or, is this going to get taken care of, and so on and so forth. And because of that, and then you can also invest in yourself because now you have some resources to invest in your own growth, where before, I want to take that class or I want to do this, but I can't afford it. And then we use that language, and our words create our world. So, if we keep saying I'm in debt, I can't afford it, and so on, more than saying, well, let me focus on a plan. Those things may be true in reality at this time, but if our focus is on where we're going with a really good financial plan, then we begin to manifest that and see those things come into place. One of the questions I have is, what are the biggest risks that each of us face when it comes to building and preserving our wealth? And how does a financial plan help address that? I think we talked a little bit about it in the example, but can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Definitely. So there's two different phases, in your financial journey. One is the wealth building phase, and the other one is the decumulation phase during retirement.
Right.
So during the wealth building phase, I think one of the biggest risks is making bad decisions about your investments. Again, seeking help will definitely make a difference, because if you're working with a professional, they usually have the experience and knowledge to help you not make knee-jerk decisions and emotional decisions that can cause permanent harm to your portfolio.
Right.
In the decumulation or retirement phase, many people think markets are the biggest risk. What if the market crashes and, I lose a big chunk of my money? Markets do crash, but they come back. If you have properly planned, if you have a cash wedge in your portfolio so you don't have to sell when the markets are low, you will survive market crashes even during your retirement. The biggest risk for retirees actually is the risk of needing long-term care, living too long and needing long-term care.
That's helping your money.
Exactly. That can be extremely expensive.
Yeah.
It can deplete your assets. Yeah. And it's a risk that you need to take into account in your financial planning. When I do planning for my clients, we always do a scenario based on what if you need long-term care, either to be looked after at home or go to a facility the last 10 years of your life. Let's see if you can afford it. And how is that going to impact your planning? So to me, that's the biggest risk in retirement.
Well, yeah. And the reality is that we all are going to gracefully and hopefully get to that point where we will live a long, prosperous life. And just like, it's interesting. I always look at birth and death from the standpoint that, we're born and we're, we can't really take care of ourselves. We need people to help us, right? But as we get older, we kind of revert back to those pre-days where we need someone to help us and to kind of get along and to kind of help manage us. But during the times where we are alert and aware, right, of those wealth accumulation periods, we then should be able to, with a good financial planner, our good advisors, develop a strategy so that when that time happens, we have things in place to handle that and to manage that. So let me ask you a couple more questions here. And this has been a really great conversation. If you could give our audience one piece of advice that can meaningfully impact their financial well-being, what would that be?
Start as early as you can and don't do it alone. Seek help.
Right. What about someone, though, who, let's say they started and life happened, kind of like your previous client, divorce, bankruptcy, job, torrential rains, house was torn because of different things. And now they find themselves in the later part of their lives almost having to start over. What advice would you give someone like that?
It's perfectly all right to start all over again. It happens. Things happen in life. Don't be ashamed of your situation, whatever it is. Be honest and open with your financial planner. And that is the best way of picking things up and starting to build again. Right. Tornadoes come all the time. Natural disasters come all the time. And people will have to rebuild. There's no shame in it. And if you are in a situation that you think is because of the wrong decisions that you made, learn from them.
Right.
I mean, mistakes are the best learning opportunity. So try to avoid those mistakes going forward. That's a great, asset.
Excellent. Excellent. Tina, this has been a great conversation. I feel like I've learned so much more I really love the story that you shared about one of your clients, and just, you, as you spoke, I felt like, okay, I'm really with a very strong, solid tour guide who has tons of experience and a wealth of knowledge, and definitely deserve those accolades that you have received. And I look forward to seeing you in Nashville at the meeting that we're going to have for the International Association of Top Professionals. Now, if someone wants to get to know you or work with you or connect with you, where can they go?
My website is the best place, tinatehranchian.com. All my contact information, my bio, articles that I've written, my media interviews, everything is there. And a few testimonials, video testimonials from my clients that I recently put up. And I'm very proud of, because these are people that I worked with for, there's one couple that have been my clients for 25 years.
Wow.
And to see them talk about, how this relationship has impacted them is very meaningful to me.
Yeah. And that says a lot about you too, when you can say I have, clients for 30 years, for 25 years, because that means that it's not transactional, it's relational, and that they really are your clients, where you're really, you have that fiduciary long-term view of really wanting to help them, and that stick-to-itness, that they believe that you are the best person for them and that you've done the best job for them, that they feel comfortable being with you for that 30 years or the 25 years. So what an excellent testimonial to your work.
Yes, and definitely a blessing to have such great clients.
Yes. Well, listen, thank you so much for everything and for all of your wisdom and advice. And I'm so happy to have you on the Productivity Smarts podcast.
My pleasure, Gerald. Thank you so much for this interview. Take care.
If you're enjoying the content and finding it valuable, we would appreciate it if you could take a moment and leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us and helps us reach a wider audience. If you leave us a 5-star review, it would mean the world to us. Not only does it help us improve the podcast, but it also helps us attract more sponsors and grow our community. Thank you again for your support and for listening to the Productivity Smarts podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to Productivity Smarts, where we help you achieve your goals and live your best life. We hope you've gained valuable insights and actionable strategies to boost your productivity and increase your happiness and fulfillment. Remember to apply what you've learned and keep striving towards your goals. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more inspiring episodes and expert advice from our host, Gerald J. Leonard. Until next time, keep pushing forward and unleashing your productivity smarts.